Hello and welcome to Meeting of the Minds. I am Reiki Master Sharon, and today I'm here with my friend Michele Martin. And today we are going to be talking about our journeys and how they have kind of evolved around our perceptions when it came to things like tarot, divination, astrology, and things like that. So, Michele, would you like to introduce yourself?
Um, I don't know. Do I want to? Yeah, I'm Michelle, and I'm a coach and a human design guide, I guess you would say. Um, and I don't know. I'm thinking about what our topic is today, and it's interesting as a born again Christian, um, how that's perceived, even internally initially, right? Working with those things. So, yeah, it'll be a good conversation.
Would you like to tell me a little bit more like about your journey? Like how did it start shifting for you?
Um, how did it start shifting for me? I think it started to shift when I started to get more into spirituality as opposed to religion.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's where it started to shift, like studying metaphysics, like, studying Reiki. And a lot of people that I know that are Christians are completely against those things, right? I actually have a client that I've had for years, that is very strict Pentecostal Christian. We do not discuss anything at all outside of normal, regular coaching because she's completely against it. But I think one of the biggest ways that it shifted for me was knowing that, like, when I'm using astrology or human design or any, I consider them tools, right? I don't consider them like that I'm calling on something otherworldly to work with me, right? Or even if I'm doing Reiki, right? When I'm thinking about a guide, my guide is Jesus, right? It's not some other entity. It's always something that's for me, affiliated with my beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not, yeah, that's the only way I could really explain it. Is like, I know that I am doing the work that I'm doing whenever I'm using any of the tools that I use in service of the light, right? I'm not calling on spirits or doing any of those kind of things, which to me is a no-go, right? That's for me.
Mhm.
Um, And so, but I do deal with a lot of people in my life that do not believe in any of those things. Like they don't want anything to do with it, and they're not even religious. So, yeah, it's just interesting. Um, and initially I think, that I probably felt like there was um a dissonance, right? A disconnect. Because on the one hand, like, okay, I'm a Christian, they don't believe in any of those things, right? That's not what we're taught in church. Uh,
Right.
we're taught that those things are against what the Bible says. And then, I'm like, well, but if I'm using the tarot cards, even if I'm reading just for myself, right? If I'm using tarot cards, if I'm looking up the transits, which is just the planets in the sky, right? God created those.
Hmm.
He created the universe. He created all of that. Um, I think for me, the most thing is where is that how am I working with those things, right? What is my intention on working with those things?
Right.
As opposed to other ways where people can, want to use things for different reasons, call on different spirits. Um, yeah, but the one thing I will say that I do not do, and that's only just because um, I don't believe in predictions, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't believe in that. Like I don't use predictive astrology. I don't do any of that. Yeah, the transits, but that's not a prediction, right? That's just this is the current energy that's going to be happening. You might be feeling this kind of way. It doesn't mean it's written in stone. Is psychics, you know. And it's not because I think that they're evil or doing anything evil. It's just that I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want to know the future. I don't want to know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't believe in predictive like astrology or anything like that because I've seen people, not myself personally, but other people put their faith in the predictions that they were given and put their life literally on hold and nothing came to fruition. Zero. And I'm
Yeah.
talking they had um astrological predictions from famous friggin' astrologers that have been doing it for like 50 years. Um, so I think that's another reason why the whole predictive thing turns me off. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Okay. I just wanted a little bit, I wanted to hear a little bit of like how your journey went. Like for me, I was raised Christian, though my parents aren't like super religious, but
Hmm.
like I went to church with my grandpa and I went to the church with my friend and I became a lot more religious than even my parents, I would say. Like
Hmm. Yes.
so for me, like I would read through the Bible and when I was initially reading through it, like I was reading these things and my perception of it was that, you know, being a medium was wrong,
Hmm.
divination was wrong,
Hmm.
witchcraft is wrong. And then I got really sick with COVID in 2020, and I felt called to start practicing Reiki. It started coming up in my feed, and it was something that I
Hmm.
had never heard of it before, but
Hmm.
I knew intuitively and within my inner knowing that that was what I was guided to learn. It was part of my journey. And I
Hmm.
know it was from God because at that time, God was guiding me a lot through my sickness. And He was leading me to things that were helping me to heal. Because
Hmm.
at that time, there was a lot of conflicting knowledge about it. There were different things, a lot of people didn't know how to treat it, especially the strand that I had, I think was probably a little bit more aggressive than some of the other ones that have come out because that's how viruses work. They get to the point where, you know, if they're too dangerous, they start to mutate so that they don't kill us all off, you
Yes.
know?
Hmm. Yes.
So, in my experience, I started doing Reiki. I started learning that Reiki is universal life force energy that we are
Hmm.
channeling through us to help the other person balance and heal their aura and their energy. So to me, I see universal life force energy as God because God says that He is in all living things.
Hmm.
And that's what I believe that is. It's that force that is in all living things, and nothing can be alive without it. So
Yes.
when I tap into Reiki, I am asking the creator to channel through me so that I can
Hmm.
assist the other person.
Yes.
And this is like it like creates a circuit between the two of us. It's kind of like we're when in the Bible it says something like where two or more are gathered in
Yes.
prayer, I will be with them,
Hmm.
you know? So that's how I see Reiki. But when I started doing Reiki, it opened my mind up to so many different rabbit holes that I went down because I started seeing symbols and geometry when I started channeling. So then I had to learn about sacred geometry. I had to learn about the tree of life. I had to learn
Hmm.
about Kabbalah and all of these different esoteric kind of teachings that are kind of like a deeper wisdom, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And it was very interesting to me because I actually seen the the planets and the sun and the moon within our energy body, like ruling our chakras. And I was like, oh wow, we have the universe inside of us. Like,
Yes. Hmm.
so it was like it just opened my mind to all these different things. And when you start to realize that those energies are swirling within you,
Hmm.
then it's really hard to detach from the connection of all of it. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Hmm.
God is intricately made everything to connect. And it's like, it's so intricate that it's just amazing. It's inspiring. It's just, it blows my mind that,
Yes.
like me and you are connected, me and the planets are connected, me and everybody on the planet is connected. Like the same life force energy that's in me is within a tree, it's within the
Yeah.
ground, it's within earth, it's within, everything that is alive.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I realized that, I was like, okay, well, I'm already picking up on these energies and doing this energy healing. I'm already, basically having an energetic conversation with the planets from how I see it. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been led to do this from my creator. So then I was like, okay, so because people don't realize that the tarot cards, they're connected to different Hebrew letters, ancient
Mm-hmm.
Hebrew letters. They're connected to different zodiac signs. They're connected to different planets, and
Mm-hmm.
they all have energies that are speaking to us in a certain way. So basically, when we're tapping into this energy, it's not to figure out, am I going to live on a lake? Am I going to have $1 million?
Really? It's not? No.
And that's what people think when they come to you and they ask for a reading. And like, there may
Yes.
be some people who do that, who
Yes.
will tap into that energy and do their best to answer that for them. But I think it's important to realize that our power is in our current moment.
Yes.
And everything that we can imagine happening is happening simultaneously, all at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. And it
Yeah.
all really comes down to like where you are energetically on which timeline you are going to actually experience within your physical reality. So
Mm-hmm.
when we understand that, telling somebody what their future is very limiting
Yes.
because
Mm-hmm.
you could tell somebody that their future is going to be something, but it could be totally different depending on where they are vibrationally in alignment with whatever timeline they end up hopping onto.
Yes.
There's different dimensions to it. So like they could want something here and they could actually end up experiencing something here. But if you're told that you're going to get something here and you're here and you're not doing the work to get here, you end up
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
And And it's not even necessarily physical work, it's listening to our intuition, listening to our divine guidance, you know,
Mm-hmm.
aligning with the things that we feel are more important for us to put our time and our energy into.
Yes.
So when I do a reading for someone, I'm asking God, Jesus, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, Archangel Raphael if I feel called to. Like, there are different guides that come to me. Sometimes when I'm pulling on a card, maybe like Venus might show up or something like that. There's different energies that are communicating with me to answer this question. But the question that I'm asking is, what does this person need to know right now?
Mm-hmm.
What is going to benefit them the most? What is it that they may need to bring their awareness to that
Mm-hmm.
will shift things for them, to get them out of this loop? And I feel like that's so much more empowering because you're
Mm-hmm.
actually saying, okay, God, spirit, the universe, I'm open to listening to where you want me to go,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because
Mm-hmm.
within our free will, we can choose not to.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's my whole thing, right? It's like, um, what is my intention when I'm doing whatever kind of work I'm doing, right? I don't do tarot readings for anybody, but I do astrology. I use human design in my work. Um, metaphysics stuff, whatever. But, for me, I always make a point of because we have free will, right? Because there are people that believe that like if their astrology chart says this, then that is their fate, right? And it's sealed and it's not sealed. Like, I don't believe in that. I believe we have free will, we have autonomy, we make different choices, we can go down a different path, right? I think that it's a picture of what is happening in that present moment. It doesn't mean it can't be shifted by the choices that we make, right? When I'm working with people, my whole thing is to have them tune into their inner authority, right? And their autonomy, not to feel like, oh, this is telling me this, so it has to be true. Like, um, I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, so it's like the energy around it, the intentions around it, and just, you know, because I've had arguments with astrologers about that. That no,
Yeah.
this is it. This is what it is. I don't align to that. And I don't speak to my clients that way. I don't teach that way, when I'm explaining stuff about their human design or astrology or anything like that, or anything I teach. Um, because we do have free will and nothing is written in stone. And we weren't created to be like, okay, this is your life path and you can never veer from it. Right. No, we always have choices. So that's
Yeah.
just how I think about it.
I love that you say that because like I watched a video from Jacqueline Shaw, and she was talking about how God doesn't have an agenda for our lives. And,
Mhm.
it took a minute for me to wrestle with it because I'm like, but there were times where like something happened and I knew God was saying I needed to get out of whatever I was in. But
Mhm.
what she was saying, I believe, was more so that he doesn't have a strict plan on how things have to happen when they have to happen. It's more
Yes.
so like he has an idea of like what your greatest timeline can look like. But
Mhm.
you are still using your free will to create that and to experience that.
Yes.
And it's like we really do have to tap in and say, is this making me happy? Am I being fulfilled in this?
Mhm.
And how can I make a change that would make me more happy or more fulfilled? Right.
Yes.
And I think for me, it's really been nothing really makes sense when you start tapping into your relationship with the divine.
Mhm.
Like there are things that happen that I can't even explain the logic of how they happened. You get what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
Because like there have been times where I have, thought that my rising sign was Pisces. And then just recently I found out that my rising sign is Capricorn. Or
That was
I
mine. Mine is too.
yeah, so I have double Capricorn. I'm Capricorn rising, Capricorn moon, Gemini sun.
Okay. A
So
lot of
yeah,
earth energy in your
yeah,
big three anyway. Yeah.
yeah. I actually have a stellium, I don't know if I'm saying it right,
Yes, you
in
are. Mhm.
in Capricorn and Gemini in my
Oh,
chart.
okay.
So they're very different energies.
Yes, they are. Definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm an Aquarius sun, which is air, right?
Mhm,
Capricorn rising, which obviously is earth, and then
mhm,
a Leo moon, fire, right? And it's
yeah,
funny because like when I look at my chart or I've had other astrologers look at my chart, um, for me, like the elements are very balanced in my chart. But
mhm,
I've had a lot of people come to me for readings, which is funny, um, that are like their big three, right, are all in water, or they're all in air, or they're all, yeah. So that they're, because I actually have a friend of mine who's like, oh, I don't have anything in Aquarius, I don't have anything. You do. I mean, just because there's no planets in there, you still have the energy of all of the 12 signs in your chart, in your life, or whatever. And there are ways that you can bring in the energy and of the elements that you might be missing in your chart, right? There actually is a book written by an astrologer that I had studied with, Deborah Silverman. It's called The Missing Element, right? Um, and she talks all about that. How, you can bring in, like if you're missing, quote unquote, missing air in your chart, there are things that you can do in your day-to-day life to bring more of that air energy in. right? I found that really interesting when I learned that. I was like, oh, I really resonate with that. I really like that. Yeah.
Mhm. I think my mom was, she used to watch Deborah Silverman on TV when I was younger. Did she used to do things on TV? Or
I don't
am I thinking of
know. I
something?
know that she's a therapist, but she has been doing astrology for I want to say 40 years or maybe longer. Um, yeah, because I studied with her, um, and I studied with Stephen Forrest. He's like evolutionary astrology. Yeah, because I like their takes on it. But yeah, but she has that book. Actually, I think she just wrote a new book. I Don't Believe in Astrology is the name of the book. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually follow another person that teaches, you know, human design and astrology, um, from a Christian perspective, which I found really interesting. Yeah.
So, like, to your point, I feel from what I've been feeling into with my connection with the divine is that there are ways for us to kind of break free from the influence of our birth chart. So, what this looks like for me is I've been led to explore like King Solomon, how he was instructed to bind the 72 spirits or whatever they were to create the temple in
hmm
Jerusalem. And for me, I feel like this is kind of like a balance of these 72 energies. And if you add 72 and 72, you get 144, which reminds me of the 144,000. And I believe that in the way that I am internalizing it is that like they're all set at 5 degrees on the zodiac chart. And once we learn how to contain those energies within our sovereignty and our control, that we are no longer under the control of the like the planets or those planet heavenly rulers as they call them. We're then at a point where we are so in alignment with the divine and the creator that they actually end up start working for us instead of, us being under their jurisdiction kind of thing. So
hmm
that's kind of how I see it. And the way that I see it allows me to see that there are a lot of people that may be unaware to it. And if you're unaware to it, then you're still going to be under the control of those heavenly bodies because they need to keep you in check within your own free will, and we
Yes.
can also drop under their jurisdiction if we're working outside of the realm of our own free will, if we're doing things that are harming others, or, there's still going to be like justice, right?
hmm Yes.
So for us to kind of look at these things and say that they're evil, I think is a huge trap that a lot of Christians fall into, myself being one included, because I used to
Yes.
think the same thing, you know?
Yeah, me too. I mean, I was brought up Catholic, and it was so different from when like I converted to becoming a Christian, right, and being baptized and going to a Bible believing church, right. Catholicism yeah, it's the Bible, but it's not the same. Like, they're not teaching you. I can't explain it. The way that you're learning the Bible in a Bible believing church, right? Not that Catholics don't believe in the Bible, they do, but it's completely different, like day and night. Um, Um, yeah, but they, at least in the Christian church that I went to, um, totally against anything at all to do with any kind of astrology, anything that's, because in the Bible, I forget where it says it, something about that, right? So, but this is my thought, and it's just how I think about it. I don't feel like I have to go to a building to have a relationship with God. Okay. I
Mhm.
believe that my relationship with God, Jesus Christ, the angels, is a direct relationship to them. Um,
Yeah.
and that's what they want. And yeah, there's billions of people on this earth, and yes, each person can have a personal relationship with the God of their understanding, right? It doesn't have to be Jesus, it's whatever God they believe in. Um, which is something that, I really came to terms with that when I got sober, right? Because growing up, growing up Catholic or whatever, I always believed that God was going to strike me dead because I did some horrible thing. And I'm talking about from when I was like 5, 6 years old. I believed that, right? How would I even believe that at that age? I have no idea. Um, so I always felt that like somehow I was this sinner, whatever, and I did this horrible thing, whatever it was, I don't know. And then when I got sober, they would always talk about in AA about the God of your understanding, right? It doesn't have to be a God that someone else, necessarily Jesus, Buddha, whatever. Um, and so that was when I really started to dive into my spirituality more. Was like, okay, so I can have a God that of my understanding, not like the God that I grew up with that was going to strike me dead for every single thing I did or didn't do. Um, so yeah, and that's when I more developed my relationship with God, right? But I became a Christian after that.
Mhm.
Uh, which was interesting too. But even still, I'm like, but it's my direct relationship to God that matters the most to me,
Yeah.
not um necessarily, what anybody else believes. I'm not, let me say, I am not somebody that likes rules. Okay. I'm not easily influenced by outside forces. I'm just not. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's my Aquarius like rebellion thing or whatever it is, but I'm not easily influenced by things outside of me. So I have come to, believe in my life, right? Which is another thing that they would say in AA all the time is take what you need and leave the rest. Well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Like I don't um sit and try to pick apart um why I believe the way I do. It's probably why I'm having a hard time articulating it, right? But I don't like if someone's going to look at astrology, tarot cards, human design, like all that stuff as evil, um, I think it's well, first of all, it's their perspective, right? And they're entitled to that perspective, but um, that they lack the understanding of what it actually is for, right?
Yeah.
Because to me, I think I said it before, I'm probably repeating myself. They're tools
Mhm.
to use in your growth, right? Um, that's all that they are for me, right? That's how I use them in my business, how I use it in my life. It's not um like a written in stone thing that I have to follow these rules and be this certain way because my chart says I am, right? Um, because through my relationship with God and through the inner work that I've done, in other ways, right? I know that there's nothing outside of me that
Mhm.
can take away my authority over my own life,
Yeah.
except for God, maybe God Himself. That's about it.
Yeah. The way that I see it now is that a lot of the different ancient religions and some of the major religions are basically kind of allegorical. They kind of are saying a lot
Mhm.
of the same things. Like the heart of what they're saying is the same. And I think we get caught up in the ego aspect of who's right or wrong, and that
Mhm.
causes a lot of division. And if we could look at it and say, I know that God created everything. God
Yes.
is in every living thing, every living being. And if God was not in those things, they would not be alive.
Mhm.
So when we look at it from this perspective, then we notice that the person that we're looking at, our neighbor, our friend, the person who has different beliefs than we do, they
Hmm.
do have God energy within them, whether they like it or not, whether they want to believe it or not. Like,
Yes.
if they didn't, they would not be alive. Like,
Yes. Hmm.
and I think this allows us to not such not to judge as harshly,
Hmm.
because I think one of the greatest commandments was to love your neighbor as yourself. Like it was pretty up there, right?
Yes. Hmm. Yes.
So, and that was another thing that I got kind of mixed up because I took that to mean that if I loved somebody how I wanted to be loved, they would love me the way that I want to be loved. But that's
Mm.
not how it works. It's the other way around. You have to love yourself the way that you want to be loved, and then love other people the way that you love
Yes.
yourself.
Hmm.
But I've
Yes.
contemplated on these things a lot, and I've done research, and I believe the Greek term that they used for witchcraft was pharmakeia in the Bible, like in the
Mm.
original translation. And that word had so many different meanings. Like it meant healing potions, it also meant
Yes.
poison, it meant a lot of different things. And I think what happened is when our Bible was translated, they just picked a word and didn't really describe what it actually meant.
Yeah, because a lot of witches, right? People they called witches, right, were healers.
Yeah.
And they got burnt at the stake because they said they were doing witchcraft, but they were using herbs and doing, the natural healing things, I suppose, right? And they were branded as witches.
And I want to like reiterate what you said about these things being tools. A tool can be used in a good way or a bad way.
Yes.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like you can use tarot in a bad way. You can use
Absolutely. Hmm.
herbs in a bad way. You can use, your intention in a bad way.
Yes.
It all
Hmm.
just depends. Like you can use your words in a bad way.
Exactly,
Like
because words are spells. Words are spells.
exactly.
People, right? What is that? I think it's Hebrew. Abracadabra actually literally means I create as I speak,
Yes.
right? And we do. Like it's amazing how we don't how, when I learned that, I don't remember when I learned it. And am I always 100% on top of the words I use? No. You know what I mean? I'm human, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, the words we use, the way we speak to ourselves and all that stuff, that energy is creating things, right?
Yes. Exactly. And that's why, in the Bible it says that it's a sin to curse. It doesn't say it's a sin to cuss. It says it's a sin to curse because
Yes.
it doesn't matter if you say fuck. It just matters if you say fuck you and you mean that you want something bad to happen to them,
Yes,
okay?
it's the intention. It's the intention behind it, I think,
Yes.
right?
I
Um,
agree.
Yeah, it's the intention to, and you were talking about energy before, right? God is energy.
Mhm.
Like everything is energy. Every single thing.
Right.
Like even this desk that I'm sitting at is vibrating. I remember learning that in chemistry or whatever science class in school, where they were saying like it's actually all just particles, like, and I'm just like, woo! So that means that this desk is just really literally vibrating
Yeah.
all the time, constantly. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that I really like that interpretation of like God or anything, right? Is like that everything is energy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you want? What do you want? You're nosy.
Oh, he's so cute.
He's got to come up and interrupt me. Come on, get down.
Everyone watching that's Garfield, say hi.
Yes, there's Garfield.
Yeah, he's cute.
Oh.
So, yeah, I was trying to think of what other things that I had thought about or had kind of dived deeper into besides that. I think it might have been the divination because there is a way to use divination that is not good as well. So,
Of course.
like, there are actual demons that have sight into the future.
Yeah.
And there are people in the past who have actually done sacrifices to gain that knowledge and that wisdom to find either where a lost treasure was, what's going to happen in the future, things like that. So like if people are doing rituals to make a contract with a demon to gain that knowledge,
hmm
that is a way where divination can be a bad thing. But
Yeah.
the way that I see it is if you are connecting with spiritual beings of light, of God, if you're connecting with your angels and you're connecting with that source and you're not actually making contracts with entities that may have malicious intent, I think this is where a lot of people who are readers get very drained
Mm.
because they go in without an intention of what energy they're connecting with.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the protection and you
hmm
don't know who you're speaking to, like
hmm
I know the energy of Archangel Michael. I know the energy of Metatron. I know the energy of Jesus. I know the energy of God. If you're connecting with an entity that you might not be aware that is trying to connect with
hmm
you, you have to have the authority to say, that's not who I'm speaking to, you know?
Yes. hmm
So there are ways where it can get misconstrued, and you do have to be careful of who you're talking to
Yes.
and what you're internalizing?
Yes, because that can be a pretty scary thing, and especially like, and it's funny. I want to say it's Gate 19 and the Gene Keys. They talk about it. And that I have like predominantly in my human design. Which is like, I'm sensitive, right? And yeah, I already knew that. I didn't need human design to tell me that, right? But it's, you get confirmation and you think about things in a different way, whatever. Um, but that, talks about how that somebody who has that gate, because they're so sensitive, they have to be really careful about, like extra careful about entities or whatever. And so that's something that you talked about, the protection, right? That's something that no matter what I do, like if I'm doing anything outside of, like if I'm doing Reiki, if I'm doing tarot, which I generally just do for myself, right? Um, well, actually, it's not even that. I protect myself every day,
Mhm.
right? I ask God to protect me every morning, right? When I say my prayers, I ask Him to protect me. But the protection is really important to do before you do a reading for somebody, right? Or before you're, interacting with energy, right? And also clearing after you're done, right? Because especially if you're a sensitive person, you could take on other people's energies, right? So you want to
Yeah.
make sure you clear that out too and close it out before you finish or when you're done, but I feel like as far going back to like the prediction thing, right? I feel like, like because in astrology they'll do the transits and they'll say, oh, but instead of talking about it like this is your fate is sealed, da da da. I feel like the way that I talk about it is there are possibilities in your life, right? Depending on the path that you choose to take, the action that you choose to take on that specific thing or whatever. I don't think it's written in stone. And that, like I said, I've gotten into debates. I wouldn't really say arguments, debates with other people about that, which is fine. You don't have to believe the same way as me, and I'm not going to tell you to believe the same way as I do either, right? But I'm allowed to have my belief, and I do. Yeah. So I don't believe in things being written in stone, and I do not like what the heck was it you were saying? And I got like the hair stood up on my arms. Oh, about being careful about what you're calling in. Yes.
Yeah.
hmm So for a really long time, I would be like scared, even though it wasn't my intention to call anything other in, right? I would be terrified that somehow they were going to come in anyway. Right? I was just like, well, like even though I'm like, no, yeah, I would that there would be that fear there for me for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's kind of one of those things where, like, before I understood it, I just wrote it off completely because I was just like, well, I don't know who they're like. My discernment was at a level where I wasn't able to discern whether somebody was attaching to a being of light or otherwise, so I just kind of wrote it off
Hmm.
as I'm not even going to mess with it. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Hmm.
But as
Yes.
I've grown my discernment and my connection with the divine and God and my intuition, I can feel when somebody is connecting to a being of light and when they're not, you know?
Hmm.
And it's you can hear it in the way that they're speaking on things. If
Mm.
it's coming from a place of ego or if it's coming from a channel from the divine, you know? And I'm not going to say that our humanness doesn't get mixed up in there sometimes too.
Of course it
But
does, right?
but at the end of the day, like you can tell when someone has a clear channel if
Hmm.
you are to that point where you are a little bit more discerning. And if you're feeling like you are connecting with a reader and that they're really picking up on your energy, then I don't think it's wrong to listen to what they have to say because
No.
that might be put into your path for
Hmm.
you to think on. Not to
Yes.
say that it's going to be exactly what's going to happen to you, but to
Exactly.
think about the possibility and
Hmm.
ask yourself, are you okay with it? Or if not, how can you change things to where a better outcome might come about? Because a lot of people who are drawn to readings, they struggle with accepting the reality the way that it is, or
Hmm.
they don't understand the energy that they're feeling, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that can be scary for someone who is a Christian who doesn't want to connect with the wrong people or the wrong spirits, which I totally understand
Yes.
because it can be a bad thing. But at the end of the day, like King Solomon was directed to even bind demons to create a temple. And if that is like, there's a difference between surrendering yourself to a demon and commanding something in your field. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like you can command something to stop, you can command something to go away, you can use the name of God to make it
Yes.
leave.
Hmm.
You have power in your voice, is what I'm trying to say. But there are times where people have been so desperate to or greedy even to know how they can get more money, how they can get more success, how they can make somebody love them, how they can end up with the love of their life, that they make contracts with entities that don't have their best interest at heart.
Hmm.
And that can be very dangerous, which is a
Yes.
big reason why I don't like if I do a love reading, it's basically I'm pulling on your current energy through your chakras and the other person's current energy through their chakras, what they
Hmm.
need to know at this time, what you need to know at this time, and what the energy feels like between you. It's not, are you going to end up with them? It's not, are you going to have kids with them? It's, where are you guys at energetically? Because that's
Hmm.
where your power is. That's where you're going to be able to do something with it. I'm
Right.
not here to, you know, sell you some big tale about you living on a lake and winning $1 million. You know what I mean?
Yes. Hmm.
I, I'm here to guide you. Like, this is assistance. You know, it's
Yes.
and it's a very I'm very honored to be able to do that for
Hmm.
people. You know, it's
Yes.
not something that I feel like we all have the ability to do it, but not everybody taps into it. You get
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So
Yes.
that's how I feel on it. But, you know, people, and then another thing is the three wise men. Like,
Mm.
the three wise men followed a star to because they knew that that meant that Jesus was born. Like, they didn't have the internet back then. They didn't have,
Nope.
somebody calling them to tell them. Like,
No, they didn't.
they knew because they watched the stars and they knew that he was coming because there was a prophecy.
Hmm.
So, and people have used the stars to navigate their life. I mean, it's taught in the military. If they're like lost in the middle of the desert, you look at the stars and the transits to be able to figure out where you're going and to navigate. So,
Yes.
I mean, if we look at it through even just a physical sense, it tells us what it is meant for in a metaphysical sense because these transits are not meant to predict your future.
No.
They're like the seasons, it's like we're
Hmm.
going into winter, we're going into spring, we're going into fall.
Hmm.
Are you going to prepare? And if
Yeah,
not,
exactly.
then like you might not have a great winter. You
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, it's like, depending on what transit it is, right? Oh, okay, well, if you're given, because I just recently, back in December, did a 2026 like transit forecast for somebody that I've done readings for before. Um, and it's like, okay, well, so I pulled out the major transits because there's so many. And just, well, there's a possibility that, all right, this is what the energy is like during this transit, right? This is what it's possibly going to affect in your life, right? I don't talk in absolutes, right? Because
Hmm.
I don't believe in absolutes. Um, and so, that's how I do it. I just speak like that. And if I'm doing like an astrology reading or human design reading, or coaching somebody about around that, it's like, all right, these are the energies that you were born with, the light and the dark, right? The shadow and the light side of everything. You know, your potentials and all that stuff and possibilities. Um, yeah, that's just I don't know. I just I don't know. I guess I'm different than other human design and astrology people. And that's okay. I don't mind being different. I'm an Aquarius, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, those energies you were born with that, right? So yeah, it's part of your life, but it's not it's a like a map, I would say, right? It's not this is the way it is and there's no deviation from that. Like I'm sorry, but life doesn't work like that. Does not
Yeah.
work like that. Well,
Yeah,
maybe
because
as I'm
God
getting
works
older,
outside of,
I'm getting wiser, or I'm just getting blinder. I don't know.
yeah. Like what really stuck with me is I read in a book that God always works outside of the laws of cause and effect.
Mm.
And it's so true because with God there's miracles. So even if you think that, you're destined or like something is bound to happen, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen if God decides that something different is going to happen, and you might be really surprised to see that something different happens because you didn't see a way for something different to happen,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
think those are the moments in our life that we really cling to, and we are able to say, I trust that God is going to show up for me because he did in a way that I never thought that he would be able to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why testimonies are so important because people can see that if it happened for them, that it's possible for them too?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think like conversations like this are very powerful because people can see things from a different perspective, a different
Yes.
way of looking at things, and maybe not. being as judgmental,
Hmm. Yes.
because being self-righteous is a trap too.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because people have their different perspectives on things, and different astrologers and different human design people and different tarot readers and Reiki healers, and you know, they have, I mean, yeah, the principles are the same, right? But they have their own perspective on it, and they focus on certain things, right? Right? Because there's astrologers that love predictive astrology, and that's fine, right? That's just something that I'm not interested in at all, right? Um, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just not my thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but some people get very heated about that because they think that things are just one way, and I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I believe that there are different ways that that one way can go. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
it's like
Yes.
this could happen, but this could happen or this could happen. It just
Mm-hmm.
depends on where we're aligning as in a collective.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important because like it's so interesting to learn the different personalities. Like I feel like the different zodiac signs and the different planets, they have like their own different
Yes.
personality, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like getting to know them.
Yeah, and I feel like, sometimes, especially when people are vulnerable and maybe not in a good place in their life at the moment, that they can make these systems outside of themselves like their guru. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Um, because they're in such a place that they're not tuned into their own autonomy, and they allow these things to take that away from them, right? They give all
Hmm.
their power to something outside of themselves, right? Which could be, I mean, I'm sure we've probably all done it at one point or another, but um it can be kind of dangerous in some ways, to give up your inner authority and your autonomy to something outside of you, like that, to a system, to a tarot reading, to an astrology reading, to whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be in that realm of things. It could be whatever it is. Um,
Right.
is always to remember that you have sovereignty over your own life, right? In
Agreed.
partnership with the God that you believe in, right? Um,
Hmm.
that's how I feel about it. I'm very like adamant about that autonomy thing and sovereignty. I'm just like, no, no, you are not like, cause wasn't, did Tony Robbins do something, a few years ago? Like, I am not your guru.
I
Was
don't
it him
remember.
that had, I think it might have been him. He had, done like, I forget if it was, documentary, something, whatever, but, yeah, because I think a lot of times people will latch on to systems and things because they don't feel safe or they don't trust themselves
Hmm.
enough. It doesn't mean that these systems can't help you. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that if you're vulnerable, you're in a dark place or whatever, or you don't really believe in yourself and you're struggling like with your self-esteem, you could latch on to something as your savior almost. Um, so I feel like that's always something to look out for too.
Right.
Yeah.
And those codependent dynamics, they echo in so many different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best thing that someone can do is realize their own power, but they have to remember it. And
Yes.
nobody can do that for them. They have to experience it within themselves. And sometimes that means that maybe they experience something that we consider bad to realize that they actually do have power, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because there have been times in my life where I've felt like I didn't have any power or any
Mm-hmm.
authority over anything that was happening in the world or around me. And, we don't have control over other people, but we do
Nope.
have control over ourselves. And we have control over what our mind thinks. We have control over our intention. So
Mm-hmm.
you can use your mind and your prayer to send healing, to send energy to wherever your mind can wander, right?
Hmm.
And you can ask that, God help heal these things. And we always end with your will be done because
Yes.
it's not really up to us what happens because that might be balancing something that needs to be balanced. We may be
Hmm.
perceiving it as negative, but it's a shift that is necessary.
Yes. Hmm.
So, we're not powerless, but we are still under the authority of the creator,
Yes.
and the creator knows best, you know?
Yes. Hmm. Yep. That's why it's thy will, not mine, be done, right? Yes.
So I want to thank you so much, Michelle, for having this conversation with me.
Thank you for
You,
having me.
yes, no problem. If would you mind if I share your Facebook with the audience or
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, yeah, it's just a conversation. So,
yep. So if you guys would like to connect with Michelle, she is on Facebook as Michelle Martin. Send her a
yep.
friend request, say hi. And I would love to have another conversation with you sometime. If you guys would
Yes.
like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.